Eric Lescano, 1,000 Pine Points for being here first. Justin Bieber, good to see you here. Thank God. You're 500 points. I don't know if your first name's Justin, and I don't know if it's Bieber. 500 Pine Points to you. And Aaron D, 250 Pine Points to you. Congratulations to my U.S. friends. Congratulations, I guess, to half, or close to half, more than half. Some people are weeping. And that's why I have a complaint line here today. Part of this live stream is, I don't know if any Christian or right-leaning person is going to have the courage to call in. But you don't have to call in. You can... I got to put that up. Thanks for reminding me, Aaron. Yeah, there's the address. You type that in, and I'll hear a knock on the door on my notifications. That means you want to talk to me face-to-face. I prefer face-to-face. And if you don't have the courage, here's a question for you, and that would be, what do you think the worst that will happen if Biden's president? So you can complain about that. Or you can complain about something I've done if you want. You can complain about street epistemology if you don't like that. You can complain that I don't like philosophy if you want to complain about that. Basically, if you just have something you want to get off your chest, I will be a good listener. I'll repeat back to what you're saying, and I will feel your pain as a rational stoic who's dead inside. I'll try my best to feel your pain. Hey, thank you, philosophy junkies. Interview Chris Yoon about failed prophecy, he says. Well, thank you for the donation. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I made for those of you who didn't see it, I made a video compiling, I think, half a dozen or more videos. And you can see the progression, how he kind of pulls back. He predicted that Trump will remain in office. Oh, you know what? I got a comment today on that video. Let's see if I can find it. And it's one of the weirdest comments I've ever received, ever, I think. Basically, the gist of it was, we have two presidents now. Were you aware of that? I wasn't aware of that. There was two inaugurations. Let's see if I can find it. And there was two swearing-ins today. I'm glad you guys tuned in, because this is breaking news. Like, some of you think you stay on top of the news, but you don't. You think you know what's going on in the world, but you don't. Here's the comment. I'll bring it up now. This is hot off the press. Let's get rid of those two. No offense. This is public knowledge, just hot off the press by Susan Applegarth. This was on my Chris Yoon video. We, the people, did re-elect Trump to serve another 4 years. This is dated 2 hours ago, by the way. 2 hours ago. You didn't see Trump's being sworn in. You watched a phony man who committed treason put his hand on the Bible and lie. History says a man, LBJ, was sworn in and then on Air Force One after the Kennedy assassination. Is it possible that Donald J. Trump today, January 20th, 2021, at noon, who was also aboard the up-to-date Air Force One, was sworn in as our next 46th president? Yes, it is possible. It is possible he was sworn in with his mother's Bible. Well, mother's? Why is mother's? On Air Force One. Yes, it is possible. He could have even been sworn in by a notary public, I believe. Well, that makes it official. There were several prophetic utterances in the last couple of years pertaining to the 2020 U.S. presidential election that voiced there would be two presidents and two inaugurations. So this is exciting that we have two presidents of the United States. We have Biden and we have Trump, and they will keep each other in check. When Biden wants to spend too much money, Trump will be there to spend even more. No. How does that work? I can't tell the difference sometimes. But Trump will say something mean and derogatory to some people, and Biden will say, no, let's calm their rhetoric down. Let's be unified. Sort of like the Jekyll and Hyde. So yeah, we have two presidents now. I thought that was really interesting. What else is in the news here? Trump was not. You know what I felt like saying to this person who made that comment was, "Oh, So you believe Kennedy was assassinated? You think Kennedy is dead? You're one of those people who think John F. Kennedy is actually dead right now? No, he's 103 and living in Florida. My goodness, these people believe everything that they read and hear. This is how you battle conspiracy theorists. You one-up them on the conspiracies and say, hey, look, yeah, you're way out to lunch if you believe that. But it's no secret, Eileen, right? I was raised on a farm in Canada. I'm conservative. They kicked me out because I couldn't skate. But the second reason was I was too far right for Canadians. By the way, a far right Canadian's left of center in the U.S. Is that right? So to me, the presidency doesn't have as much power as people think. Now, yes, they have executive orders and so forth. But the real power of the presidency is commander-in-chief declaring war, but even then the Congress has to back that up. And what's the other? And electing judges, which Trump already did, so that damage was done. And even then, like, you don't know what that judge is going to do. I think there's many things that, what's the guy's name? Kavanaugh. A lot of people on the left were scared of him, but he's actually turned out to be pretty chill, hasn't he? You forfeit your 250 points for whoever calls in first? No, don't do that. No. You keep your pine points. You earn them. Do a compilation on failed prophecies. That takes too much work. Dreamrini. That one I did on Chris Yoon was, that took me... Actually, I bet you I did that in an hour. Some things that happened today was, I think it's happened today, or maybe it was pre-recorded and then just came out. Capturing Christianity had Apostate Prophet on, and Michael, Inspiring Philosophy. And they were debating, does God exist? Here's my advice to all atheists listening. Don't ever debate whether God exists. It's a useless proposition. It's a useless endeavor. Instead, do something that's similar but yet quite different. Debate specific religions. Debate, is Christianity, is it true? It's a lot more fun. It's a lot more practical, and it hits people where they're at. It hits people how they behave in their lives is usually by the religion they're in. I acted this way because God told me to within this religion. Okay, do we have complaints coming in yet? Is American religiosity related to a greater propensity to believe in American conspiracies? Maybe, yeah. Although I think you can be non-religious and still be a conspiracy theorist. If Trump believes there was election fraud, does that mean he is lying about it? No, if he truly believes there was, he's not lying. So that's another thing. Trump's an idiot. He's a narcissistic idiot. So to say he's lying actually gives him more credit than maybe he deserves. Because lying takes forethought and a bit of smarts and deception. I'll call in and pretend to be a Christian for Pine Points. No, I don't want that. I don't want pretenders. Pinecreek, as a huge Seinfeld fan, I have to give you props for the last short video. Yes, well, thank you. I'm a huge Seinfeld fan as well. I don't know if Seinfeld could actually exist today in the form it was because of some of the things they did. I think it wouldn't fly today. But yeah, that episode of the contest was one of my favorites. And as soon as I saw Sean McDowell do a topic of masturbation, I immediately thought, Seinfeld, the contest. Interview Chris Yoon. Hey, Chris Yoon, if you're listening, come on in. Just type that out and we can talk. Lying and mistaken are two different things. That is correct. So if anybody here leans right and is worried about Biden, call in, let me know why. If anybody has a problem with me and wants to clear the air, call in or type if you don't want to call in. Trump's highly intelligent and his emotional needs make him look dumb. Well, I've never seen his IQ score, so I don't know, Tom Bump, if he's that intelligent or not. He's definitely very confident in himself. Don't like your podcast music. Earworm. Okay. Well, the great thing about my intro music is if you love it, it helps you stay. And if you hate it, I want to see how devoted you are to sitting through it, or how smart you are to realize you can fast forward it if you just wait a few minutes and then fast forward. Remember, if you have a complaint, you got to tag me. Trump is objectively unintelligent. I don't know that either. He is unscrupulous. That has nothing to do with intelligence, though, as he has no qualms with exploiting bigger dummies for his own gains. See, now you're contradicting yourself, Mike Ortez. If he can exploit bigger dummies for his own gains, that makes him at least more intelligent than those dummies, right? Welcome to the Communist States of America. I think DB Cisco is referring to the big spending that's about to unravel under the Biden administration. But money doesn't matter anymore. We can just print it. Don't worry about that, DB Cisco. In fact, we don't even need to tax the wealthy anymore if we can just print it. Like, what's the use? If we tax the wealthy, we have to wait for their income or them to sell investments and got to wait. But printing, it's immediate. I love that tension there between printing money with their Federal Reserve and taxing the wealthy. It's going to be I'm going to be a prophet now. It's going to be an issue going forwards. Do a Capturing Christianity Pinecreek intro music mashup. With his music, I don't know if that would work. I don't like that you don't give me investment tips. Should I put it all? No investment tips. I got to be careful. What do you think of the social media crackdowns? Trump being banned from Twitter, people losing their jobs, cancel culture. Well, yeah, I think people know my opinion on that. In fact, I do have a video here. That's not it. This guy, David Wood, his whole channel is demonetized. I am against that. Like, the reason why his channel was demonetized, let's see if I can find it. Here it is. Your channel is no longer eligible to be monetized. Why? Harmful or hateful content that is incendiary, demeaning, or promoting violence or hatred, especially on the basis of protected characteristics. But there was another thing. What was it? Yeah, what are those protected characteristics? Because David Wood basically does what I do, except he's more amped up, he'll walk the edge more than I. But he's basically criticizing certain versions of Islam. And I critique mostly certain versions of Christianity. Like, there's certain versions of Christianity I really don't care about. And he was demonetized. Now, I can't help but think that the reason why he's demonetized and I'm not is because I criticize Christianity, which is in the United States mostly white people, and it's 65%. He criticizes Islam, which in the United States is 3%, 4%, I don't know, and people with darker skin. This is horrible from YouTube. In a way, YouTube, now I might be demonetized by saying this, but in a way, YouTube is actually being very racist here. It's saying, hey, look, Muslims, they can't handle the criticism. Christians can, but Muslims can't. So stop it, David Wood. But to answer your question, I am a free speech guy, more so than Trump is. So if Trump wants to say his stuff on Twitter, let him. Would you ever build a website database where your videos are categorized or clipped by topic? Well, I do have playlists, so that should help a little bit. I used to tag my videos, but it's more so for my benefit, to find things a little easier. But nowadays with YouTube, tagging is not the issue. It's basically titles, thumbnails. But I don't do any work on my thumbnails. I think out of the 600 or 700 videos I have, maybe I have 10 where I've actually taken the time to make a thumbnail. Mel Beat says, I don't really have a big problem with Biden. Harris is a different story. I think one party, either one controlling both president and Congress, is dangerous, though. I tend to agree with that. Brenda says, it probably wasn't for criticizing Islam, but for racist remarks. Well, unfortunately, they weren't specific with David Wood, Brenda, why they demonetized his whole channel. But even racist remarks, I don't think you should be demonetized for, or your YouTube channel should come down. See, for example, what if I said, I think all white people are morally inferior to non-white people? That's a racist remark. But I encourage all people of all colors to love white people. But I think all white people are morally inferior to non-white people. I'm making this statement solely based on race and color. Should this video be taken down? Now, if I was to reverse it, should it be taken down then? Have I considered selling merchandise? Yeah, I've considered it. Chris Yoon should allow to say what he wants, Pinecreek. Yes, I agree. I love that Chris Yoon exists and he says the stuff he says, because he's making testable claims. Chris Yoon, in a lot of ways, is better than these two, because these two will not make testable claims. Chris Yoon did. Now, he'll backtrack on it and he'll say, well, yeah, today's the start of Trump's presidency, but things have to unfold, and he'll blah, 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 blah. But he made a testable claim that Trump will become president for a second term. And I have him on record saying it was God's will in 2016, and it will be God's will all the way up to 2024, which implies that that's the second term now, not after Biden serves 4 years. Okay, someone's knocking on my door. Okay, hopefully this is not a troll. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, what's your name?
Cthulhu.
How do you Thulo?
Yeah, anything. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Okay. What would you like to complain about today?
No, I have a question for you.
Okay.
How do you define extraordinary claim?
Something that I don't know. I'm trying to use technical language, but something that I would find really, really bizarre, and most people would find very weird and bizarre as well.
Okay, so I watched Matt Delahanty's debate with Mike Wenger, and I think I'm not sure, but I think he defined it as something that would change his entire worldview.
Yeah, if true. Yeah.
Agree with that?
Yeah,
do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for hopping on. Let's see here. Not a complaint, but maybe a risk with the occasional tactic of yours. You often use specific ages when mentioning the risky age for Christians. The borders of that risky age might be wider. Oh, no, that's not a risk at all, Sebastian Hunter. But thank you for your complaint or worry or suggestion. You're talking about when I say between the ages of 18 and 22 is where most Christians have these experiences or epiphanies. Yeah. Whether it's 17 or 23 doesn't matter to me. Christian apologists should pay attention to the likes of Chris Yoon and see how people deal with failed messianic prophecies. See, the issue with Chris Yoon is for the Christians who denounce people like Chris Yoon, but yet still hold on to some type of personal experience. Look how, assuming Chris Yoon is sincere, not a shyster, but if he does believe the stuff he's saying, look how confident he is and look how sincere he is. And yet he's wrong. Like, this is human psychology, right? We all can be confident and sincere and just so convinced we're right and yet be wrong. Here's the lesson to be learned. Christians, when you talk about your spiritual experiences, or that you saw a demon, saw an angel, or whatever, saw a miracle, just remember that. You could be a Chris Yoon. Or if you say that God told you something or God led you in a certain way, just think of Chris Yoon, how wrong he was. Maybe you're just like Chris Yoon. What does my t-shirt say? Never trust an atom. They make up everything. Joseph Smith was very confident. So was Trump. Yeah, well, it's a lot of people are confident about stuff, and I think it's better to be try to keep your dogma as low as possible. On very few things, be dogmatic. In other words. Hi, Mo.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So I'm calling in today in regards to your critical race theory critique, and I've forgotten how you said it again. You just simply said you see it as "give me money." That was. I'm not sure if I'm quoting you correctly there. Can you tell me how you said it? As you simply see it.
Well, that's how I summarized it in 3 words. Yeah.
Okay, so
it's good to talk to you again.
Oh, me? I think it's the first time I've come on your show.
Are you sure?
Yeah. It's the first time.
Aren't you from Australia?
No, I'm from London.
From London.
I'm British. Yeah.
Who am I confusing you with?
I mean, I don't think I can do a good Aussie accent. I'm from Australia, mate. Oh no, I'm doing horrible. But yeah, so I was just calling in regards to that. And so, do you see any positives in critical race theory?
Do I see any positives in critical race theory? No. Maybe you can help me with that.
No, I've not read up a whole lot of it, but idea is to see. I think particularly has one particular race in mind. So obviously, where it applies in America, where it's dealing majority with the situation there, but the idea is the minority group of in this terms race, how it interacts with the institutionalized power. And so, for instance, let's just use America as an example because I think that's what most people know. Would you agree that, say, for instance, African Americans have a historical baggage in terms of their position in America compared to, say, if you're just a European American? Oh, so you agree to that?
Yep.
Okay. And do you think that there should be any kind of acknowledgement of that through the official state?
Yeah, and I think the official state has. I mean, people like in government positions have said something like that.
Because I know, for instance, in Canada, when it comes to Native American, I mean, tell me more because I know you can. Like, they do reparations and free uni for Native Americans in Canada, right? And they've sort of, I don't know how it works exactly in Canada, but they have got like.
You notice you talked about reparations. You're summarizing critical race theory for me. Give me money.
No, reparations is obviously one form of it. I don't know. What do you think about reparations? Do you not think it's a good idea? Because I know Jewish people got reparations for Holocaust.
Yeah, I think it's
and in America as well.
Yeah, I think the practicality of it is nearly impossible.
Okay.
Like, I think it's like if if you see an injustice, to make things right, I agree with. But I think so many years have gone by now that to even like if you have someone whose great grandfather was a slave.
But you say that, you see, the
What?
civil rights laws were only in the 60s. It wasn't like it's within a lifetime. It's not as if it wasn't within a lifetime.
No, but when's the last time someone was a slave?
Oh, officially in America? Oh, yeah, I'm not sure. It's probably about
that's what I'm
100 years
talking
old.
about. But what do you
Okay.
what do you do in a situation where you have your 1/16th African American through the slave industry? Like, do you get 1/16th reparations?
I agree in terms of if you actually try to come up with this system, I can see how it can become a bit buggy in terms of everyone will be trying to claim, oh, I've got this African American heritage or that African American heritage. So I'm not denying the actual sort of dishing out of the, if you hadn't, just for the argument's sake, if you're going to do reparations style system, how would that work and how would DNA tracing work and all that kind of thing? I absolutely agree. But the idea in and of itself, because it sounds like to me you're more talking about how it would roll out in a practical sense rather than the actual idea of it.
Yeah, to me, the practicality is the main issue because it'd be, I think, impossible.
Okay, well, that's cool. Yeah,
but what's the good part of critical race theory that you couldn't get from something else, for example?
Oh, what do you mean by that?
Well, you asked me if do I see anything good about critical race theory, and I'm asking, I was asking you to help me to find something good about critical race theory that you couldn't get from some other, just by being compassionate person.
I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not someone who's a proponent for critical race theory, so I wouldn't be able to speak quite confidently on that. But I'm just interested as to why you're so heavily pushed back on it, because
I think it's the main tenets of it is, from my understanding, is concepts like oppression, and power. Now, oppression by definition, I think, is a negative term, but power, I don't think it is. So just because a certain group of people have power over you doesn't necessarily mean that's bad. Would you agree with that?
It depends on what power's got many different definitions, doesn't it? Like, so what type of power do you mean?
No, I mean, it's if someone has the power to enact laws and so forth. I think you were about to say it depends, right? It depends if it's power that's been misused, abused, and so forth.
And also how that power has been given, right? Power is also about, has that power been given democratically, like how we've got elections and we've got governments, or is that
even then, like, you can imagine a dictatorship that's better than for certain groups of people, the minorities even. You can imagine a dictatorship that is better than a democracy. At least I can.
Absolutely. I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, I'm pretty skeptical of democracy being the best form of government, to be honest with you. But
what form of government do you think is the best?
I'm not sure.
No, I think you do know. There's something in your brain there. Pull it out.
No. I think as human beings we're very difficult to control, and so yeah. But yeah, I'm also a Muslim, so I thought I'd just say that, and because I heard you talk about David Wood just before I came on. And in regards to David Wood,
well, if you're a Muslim, do you agree with what happened to David Wood? May I ask?
No, not at all. I think everyone should be able to have their views. And David Wood, I don't particularly like him just because he's got no manners. That's all. That's why I sort of watch you, because you're very well mannered, but he just lacks basic. I don't like people who lack basic courtesy. So, and he's someone who's very foul-mouthed for someone who supposedly walks in Christ's footsteps.
Well, he doesn't swear, does he?
Oh, I can't say if he explicitly.
I don't think he swears.
But a lot of the statements I've seen him make or stuff like that seems very unchristian, traditional Christian. Let's just say it's not something you'd think you'd hear from someone calling themselves a Christian. Like, if you had to ask me honestly, I would probably say I think he's an atheist acting like a Christian. Like, just saying, this is me being now not very charitable. I'd say he's purely in it for the money, and he's probably an atheist, but he's making a big buck here. So hey, what's the?
Part of me has thought the same thing, that he leans more atheistic than Christian. However, the other part of me, I think he truly believes that he needs to be a Christian in order not to kill people.
I've seen that sort of videos, but I don't think he really is a pathological sort of. I mean, he says, I've seen the statements he says, but I can't believe that. But yeah, so Yeah, and also I just want to sort of take up another point. I don't know why, it's very minuscule, but you said you would never be really converted by anything because in terms of I was watching your video again recently with the Russian gentleman who turned Christian. He was an atheist, grew up in Russia. I think he grew up in USSR, and then he moved to America. He's I think he had a PhD in chemistry, or was it masters in? And so you'd done an interview with him, and he was saying how he grew up atheist and then he became Christian. And then you were like, "Wow, that's crazy! I'm the opposite way. I'm Christian who became an atheist." And then you're like, he was just explaining, "Yeah, when I was growing up, I was an atheist in Russia, and I just and this and that." And then it was a very interesting conversation you had with him.
I don't remember. I interviewed a Russian.
Yeah, he's a Russian American, and
what was his name? Do you remember?
Oh, I can't remember his name, but he's like, gentleman in his 50s, maybe late 40s, 50s, maybe even a bit older.
You talking? Anyhow, go ahead. Yeah, make your point.
And so I was just, I was interested as to because it seemed necessarily to you, it wasn't about the arguments, it wasn't about sort of intuition, it wasn't about experience, it was a case of, practicality. That's what you were saying when you're speaking to him, and it was like, what would actually make my life better today? How can it actually help me? Not just the case of my afterlife, if you believed in it, but what would it do for me today? And I was just thinking that's a very interesting perspective. And now,
well, I ask questions of that. Like, I do think even if something is true that doesn't help your life, most times, not all the time, most times it's better to believe it. But there are times where practicality can save your life, even if it's false. But I thought you were about to ask me what would convince me that Christianity is true or Islam is true, something like that, or weren't you going there?
No, not particularly, because I feel like I would never try to convince someone who's not seeking it. Like, I feel like there's no point ever talking to someone who's not seeking it, because it's like you offering an ice cream to someone when they don't even want an ice cream, they want a burger. And it's like, well, I'm not asking for an ice cream, I want a burger. It's only when someone's seeking an ice cream I would offer them an ice cream. So,
but that's how
I saw. Yeah.
But as a Muslim, don't you believe in hell?
Yeah, I believe in hell.
Like, and hell's a really bad place, right?
Yeah, but
you don't want me to go there, do you?
No, I wouldn't. You seem like quite a nice guy.
So wouldn't you want me to become Muslim so I don't go to hell?
Well, yeah, but only if you want to. No point in me forcing a gun on you and saying become a Muslim.
Well, what would help me believe that Islam is true is, do you believe Allah does miracles and intervenes and interacts with his creation?
I don't think he breaks his own laws of nature.
You don't think he breaks his own laws of nature? How about bend them instead of break them? Does he ever bend the laws of nature?
So I don't believe in magic, as in magic, like, or how people think, things pop out of nowhere and come into existence and stuff like that kind of thing, or even like the snake, Moses' staff turning into a snake.
What about the moon split into two? You don't believe that ever happened?
No, I don't. I think that was more either that was a.
What about?
I'm very skeptical of that.
What about Gabriel giving the very words of Allah to Muhammad in a cave over a period of 23 years, telling him things that only God would know?
No, yeah, but when you say angel, I don't believe in the traditional ideas we've got of angels. So we've got in our heads these sort of concept of angels, but I don't believe.
Okay, forget about angel. Do you think God, Allah intervenes in the world, giving people knowledge that they wouldn't otherwise have had about the future, about things that no human would know?
Yeah.
Isn't that in a way maybe not breaking the laws of nature, but intervening? And wouldn't that count as a miracle?
I suppose so, yeah, but it's not the type of miracles where it's stuff where it's just, the miracle where you ask for people to, what's that miracle you say from Kings in the Bible?
Mm-hmm. 1 Kings 18.
I think it's 1 Kings 18. Yeah, I don't think those are the type of miracles that sort of.
Well, then I'm stuck. But if God,
but I mean, for me personally, I first start off with I actually believe in Creator. So before I even believe in the Quran, I believe in the Creator, because I kind of feel like that's the best explanation for me. Now, for other people, they obviously say, well, yeah, I can kind of see it, fine tuning, etc., etc., etc. But they just feel, nah, I'm skeptical of all that. But then my whole thing is, why not be skeptical of science in terms of what the tools we use and how we sort of use the models? Why not be skeptical of those models?
We
It's
do.
like, I
We
feel
are.
like
I
no,
am.
no, but I feel no, but I feel like people are God skeptics for no reason. Like, as in, like, that's the only stop they get off at. Why not be skeptical of a lot more other things like that would sort of naturally follow that path? But people just tend to, I see, stop arbitrarily at being a God skeptic. That's kind
The
of
part of
baffling.
the part of the scientific method in reproducibility is basically saying to people, I don't believe you. Let me run the experiment myself. And so that's the great part about the scientific method, is it is reproducible no matter if you're a Muslim, a Jew, a Christian,
I
an
know that,
atheist.
and that's fine. But Pinecreek, you could be skeptical about whether our models of science actually tell us anything about reality at all.
At
Now,
all?
there might be useful models. I'm not that obviously. So they could be useful models, but do they actually describe what reality is like?
Well, we can
now
try
that's
it.
another
We can
question.
try it right now. Like I make a prediction that if I let go of this pen, it will fall down towards my desk, and we can
Yeah.
test it.
Yeah. Now, but what you're doing there is testing it, but it doesn't give you an actual insight into reality. So what the models and the sort of scientific models we use, for all we
Sure,
know,
it gives me an insight to reality. It tells me that there's something causing this pen to go down,
yeah,
or pulling it down, or maybe the floor is coming up. I don't know. Maybe the desk is coming up.
you never know. Exactly. But I mean, so I think people can be skeptical of the models we use, the scientific models. I mean, you do get them, scientific instrumentalists.
Are you skeptical about Islam?
I'm skeptical of whether a creator exists, actually, sometimes.
Are you skeptical of Islam?
Islam, not particularly, because I feel like
No, aren't you being a little bit
special pleading?
Well, no, hypocritical. Hypocritical? You're being a hypocrite, I think, because because I think you're suggesting to me that me or others should be skeptical of scientific models. But when I ask you, are you skeptical of Islam? You said no.
Well, I said I am.
Oh, you are.
No, I mean, I said I'm skeptical of a creator. So that's forget about Islam. If you're skeptical of a creator, what's the point of Islam? So so at times I'm skeptical of the creator. Kind of like a split personality that I don't have one, but sometimes you just think.
Why did you say you were skeptical of a creator, but then when I asked you, you're skeptical of Islam, you said no?
Because if I believe in a creator, I believe in Islam. I feel so. When I do believe in a creator, I believe in Islam.
And how did you choose Islam over other religions, or no religion? Just say there is a creator, but he doesn't. All the religions of the world are false. How did you land up in Islam?
So I was born a Muslim, but I am still studying other religions. I wouldn't call Islam a religion because people can call it a religion, obviously, but me myself personally, I don't call it a religion. It's more than that. I consider it a way of life. I mean, you can have a religion about anything, can't you? You can have you don't need to believe in a creator to have a religion. You can believe in a water bottle. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a system of set of beliefs. But I believe, even if I wasn't.
Can you summarize for me the core propositions of Islam? Like, why are you a Muslim and I'm not? What's the difference between you and me? Like, what is Islam in one sentence?
Well, I wouldn't even start with Islam. Like I said, I'd start in. You'd need to believe in a creator.
Okay, let's assume a creator exists. Why do you believe Islam is true, and what are the core propositions of Islam that are true?
Well, you need to believe in the Quran, and the Quran is from Allah. And
okay, why do you believe the Quran is from Allah?
Because it seems to match up to what I intuitively believe to be the case, but then you could say I was perhaps raised in it, and that's the case. So I do have to try and put that bias in there and say that's obviously a part of it, because it intuitively makes me feel that way because I was raised like that way. Maybe you could say so. That may be a part of it.
So if you admit that you could be biased because you were raised in Islam and you intuit that it's from God, but you realize that someone else of a different religion can say the same thing and be wrong. How did
So
you
that's
figure
why
out? How did you figure out you were not wrong about the Quran?
I could still be wrong, right? I'm not saying I'm not 100% wrong.
Well,
But
why do you believe it's true?
why do I believe it's true? Because
That's
I feel the Quran makes the most sense to me when I read it. The historical records, so far as I can see, they're pretty good. There's not a lot of sort of holes. But then you could just say, you don't tend to push this, but I feel like you leave it in the air. When I've watched a few of your videos, you'd say, so with Joseph Smith, the evidence is so good because it's so recent that we can say this X, Y, and Z. But I seem to feel like you insinuate that. Though you don't mention Islam, to be fair, but I feel like you insinuate because Islam's 1400 or 1500 years old, the evidence isn't so good to push back against the idea of if Muhammad really existed or if what Muhammad's created, Muhammad's personality was like, this kind of thing. And that's obviously a fair point. But the historical.
Well, you mentioned two things. It makes sense to you in that the historical record. Can we throw the makes sense part out because people adherents of every religion would say it makes sense to them?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's throw that one out for now.
Yeah, throw it out.
We'll throw it out. Now, what about the historical record convinces you that God has anything to do with the Quran?
I'm just saying the historical record's good, so I'd need that to start with. You're right. You'd want a historical. It's not a necessity because something could be from God, a creator, and still be historical. Could be wrong, but
like if a book.
To be fair to Christians, that's what I don't think. When I talk with Christians, I don't necessarily come at it from a historical point of, because I feel like, I'd rather. So even when I'm talking to a Mormon, when I look at Mormonism, I don't particularly actually care about the historical record of the Bible, the Mormon sort of the Book of Mormon, or even Joseph Smith's character. I don't particularly care about that. I care about what the actual texts say, and then see how the people acted out the said text. So, for instance, it says Joseph Smith, not in the Book of Mormon, but Joseph Smith's. I don't know. He made two black people priests, but then the LDS Church said black people aren't allowed to become.
Well, let's forget about Mormonism right now and focus on Islam. Can you name one specific thing, a historical claim that you think is true in the Quran? That points to that Allah is behind it.
And I wouldn't seek to sort of. To be honest with you, I'd need to research thoroughly more into the Islam to actually give you good answers. Okay. I don't want to give answers that are bad answers because I've not thought about them properly. So that's why I wouldn't really want to give sort of answers into that regard, because it would be just.
Okay, well, I'll leave you with one last question. Well, I'll first make a statement. I would believe Islam is true if you prayed in the name of Allah to light up a soaked Kleenex I have over here. I soak it in water. You pray in the name of Allah to light it up. If that lights up, I will believe that Islam is true. Now, is there anything that you could say to me right now that if you saw, learned, or heard something, that would be a marker for you to say, no, Islam is false?
Yeah, sure.
What would it be?
We'd have some sort of detailed Arabic texts that, show the classical Arabic used in the Quran predated the Quran. They say they carbon dated copies back to, I don't know, a good 300 years before the Quran.
So you're saying if there was a text that predates the Quran that had what in it?
So classical Arabic as we know it from the Quran, or something very, very close to it in terms of the way it's sort of structured and stuff like that.
I think I have that. I have it right here, I think.
I mean, I've seen the Arabic poems and stuff like that. But
why?
I mean, you've even bring up the Raymond Farron, and I know him, and I know the ring structures.
I was about to bring him up.
Oh yeah, but there's more that goes into Raymond Farron. He even explains it himself, and there's more that goes into that ring structure. But I don't want it to sound kind of like too apologetic, so that's why I don't want to do that whole bit. Because
that's not a very good marker to change your mind if I present that marker and you don't change your mind.
Because that's not for me.
Because you asked for something that predates the Quran.
I know. I mean, it's in a specific way. I mean it. it's the grammar used in the Quran is some of the first in its kind. Now there is like some form of the Arabic used beforehand, obviously. So I'm not saying that, but the way it's been used in the Quran, if it was used beforehand, I don't know. It's maybe I need to think about. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's something I actually need to probably think about more in terms of markers. Maybe what is the marker that I would consider? Yeah, maybe that is something I need to seriously think about. So thanks for that.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
That's all right.
What was your first name again?
Mo?
Amir?
No, Mo. Short for Mohammed.
Oh, okay. So your name is Mohammed. Well, peace be upon you.
Oh, thank you.
Was that sacrilegious?
That's fine.
Okay. Take care.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye. That was funny. Yeah, progress. That was progress. Oh, Travis, update. I'm on day 12 of the meat-only diet. It's been going really well. As you can tell with the last caller, I'm not cranky. It was a very civil conversation. I've lost, I don't know, 9 pounds. My cravings, I actually had cravings a couple days ago, but those were basically like the amount of cravings I've had is very, very low. I just ate a huge steak about 2 hours ago, and I am full. Pinecreek, can I come on? Yeah, you can come on, Bay. I remember you. He was very honest. Yes, he was. How are the poops? My poops are terrific. Terrific. No, I've not even been bung up. There's a good term for the kids listening in. Bung. B-U-N-G. I have not been bung up. And don't worry, all you people out there saying, the carnivore diet's going to kill you, Doug. No. I'm taking my vitamins. I'm drinking my liquids. I'm feeling fine. Do I still have nicotine cravings? Cravings? Oh, good question. Look, everyone. Look what I have. Do I still have nicotine cravings? No, I don't. You want to know why? Because I'm chewing it right now. Now, the reason why I stopped nicotine for about 6 months, 4 months, is because I was diagnosed with macular degeneration. I was going blind, according to the doctors, according to one doctor. And he gave me a prognosis of I'd be legally blind within 10 years, maybe even 5. And guess what? I got a second opinion from a super specialist. He said, nope, you're fine. You have something else. I even forget the name of it. And it's going away slowly on its own. So I still chew nicotine gum now. Now, some Christians think that because my wife told her friends, their friends prayed, and I was miraculously cured of one disease, but still had another, or not a disease, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, God intervenes and causes misdiagnosis. I guess so. Yeah, it's going good, going great. Irish with some sun. So yeah, I typically eat a lot of beef, a lot of turkey, some pork, not too much. A lot of fish. So fish gets me my vitamin K, which I supplement, and I take vitamin D supplements. What else do I eat? Oh, a lot of cheese. Ooh, cheese slices have become my new salt and vinegar chips. So instead of, you grab those salt and vinegar chips and you put it in your mouth and you go, I do that with cheese slices. And I choose the cheese with the low, like it's like less than 1 gram per serving. So it's like when I say 0 carbs, but it's like I can guarantee you I'm taking in way less than 5 carbs a day. It's maybe 1 or 2 grams of carbs a day. And that's just out of sheer, practicality. Oh, did you come in yet, Bay? No, you didn't. But yeah, that was a great conversation with Mohammed. Why don't you vape? I don't like vaping. I tried it, didn't like it. You know what? The kick you get from nicotine gum is about, in my opinion, 10 times the kick you get from vaping nicotine. And by the way, do I say this? Yeah, why not? There's been some studies that say that the nicotine molecule may help block the COVID virus. I think even Science Pete brought that up, or someone brought that up when I was talking to Science Pete. But don't take nicotine just because of that. Yeah, like I'm tapered down, but when I was taking the full-on nicotine with caffeine, people wonder, Doug, how do you do it? How do you talk to these theists? And how do you manipulate them and trick them and trap them so well? Easy. It's nicotine and caffeine. I got like all the cylinders are just in the brain. Doug, you are still an addict. Yes, I'm addicted to love. I jumped the shark. Just assume what I just said about nicotine and COVID is false. That's fine. English only. Oh, see, I'm not the only person who read that. Okay, since nobody's coming in, I did have some other things I wanted to do. Ready to talk about David Wood. Oh yeah, this guy here, Braxton Hunter, had a video today. He put out 5 atheists and 1 deist and what would convince them to believe. He played everyone but me, and I think I had the best answer. So here, in my opinion, is not a good answer of what would convince you that Christianity is true or Islam is true. Is, well, I don't know, but God would know, and he hasn't done it yet. That's the Matt Dillahunty answer. I don't like that answer. I like to be very specific and very clear cut, and that's why I do the 1 Kings 18. And you notice if you watch this video from Braxton Hunter, he doesn't talk about that one, and I don't think any of the atheists he played here talked about that. Something that is demonstrable to anyone in a room watching. By the way, this is to clean my glasses. Can I put up the link for what? For this one? Oh, the link is right here. Oh, you want me to actually type it out? I can do that for you. I think Chris Yoon has only, he posted something this morning, early morning, but I don't think he's posted anything. Someone can check. Hey, Bay, can you hear me?
Yes. How are you doing?
I'd say about a 9.
That's pretty good.
Oh, yeah, really good.
I love the conversation you just had with Muhammad.
Yeah, wasn't that interesting?
I was listening to his response, and because when I hear his response, it's so funny because if you talk to a Orthodox Muslim, he would not be considered, this guy, Muhammad would not be considered Muslim right off the bat. Like, it's so funny. Like, it's like you ask a Orthodox Muslim or people who are like following the scripture, any of these people who are like wishy-washy about the like claims of the Quran and all that, right off the bat, they're not Muslim. Because Islam has a very strict thing about like what can be a Muslim, what can't be a Muslim. So right off the bat, if you say Islam is in the Quran, it says if you have any doubt, any single speck of doubt about anything that's in Islam, you're not even a Muslim. So you can't be in Islam with having doubts about Islam. It's like a non sequitur.
Yeah. Do you think he was, what do you call that branch of Islam? Ahmadiyya? What is it?
No, he was an Ahmadi. He's more like a moderate Muslim. The people who are like just born Muslim, but they don't really go into the scripture. Like when you asked him something specific about the Islam, he couldn't come up with a single thing. He's one of those Muslims who are just culturally Muslim. Since their parents are Muslim, they were born a Muslim. They live their life like normal. Yeah, I'm Muslim. I do all the thing, but they don't really have ever really studied any of the Islamic scriptures, any of the Islamic sources, anything in detail to I'm like, I'm strawmanning the guy. I don't know anything about him, but the way he was answering your question, it seemed like he had never really researched the Quran or never even read any of the tafsirs and ahadith and, different madhabs and all that stuff.
Well, the strange thing about this Bey, though, is I might have made him a better Muslim, because maybe now he's going to go start read and find a very devout Muslim woman as a wife, and and he'll think back and say, what got me serious about Islam was that atheist guy back in 2021.
Yeah. No, but I mean, the way you used SE, I am not really good at SE at that level, but the way how he first gave you well, it makes sense to me. And then you kind of took that as like, all right, well, it makes sense to everybody from different religions. So let's knock that out. That's like excellent. You take one thing off. And then he's like, well, if I can find the poetic structure in the Quran before Quran, and there's like two different proof for it. There's poetry, and actually there's the Birmingham folios, like the actual books that have been carbon dated before the birth of the prophet. So, you take that, then he's like, well, yeah, that's not really a point. So it's like very interesting to see if you really use SE in a proper way, and you take one support out of the floor one by one, then there's nothing to left on except for like, I just believe because I believe,
Yeah.
But I have a complaint though.
Oh.
Yeah. You said to call in if you have complaint though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know why the West or the media, they treat Islam with a kid glove. Like everything they can treat, and I can say blah, blah, blah about Jesus right now. Nobody is going to come to my house with a stick to beat me up. Nothing. You can talk about Judaism, blah, 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 and curse their prophets. Nothing happens. But for whatever reason, everybody treats Islam as like a baby. Like, we can't say this, we can't say that. Or don't say anything bad about the prophet. Or don't say prophet without saying peace be upon him. Like, why is this like Islam is given such a, like, for example, the way you were talking about David Wood, like you criticize religion of Christianity. Nobody comes after you. He criticizes about Islam, and boom, his channel gets demonetized. He gets strikes all the time. And he's just one example. There's tons of other channels that talk about Islam, and the whole time they're just constantly fighting against this.
Yeah.
Oh, hate speech. And I've listened to one of the David Wood's video. He said that Islam is considered a protected class. So how is this whole religion considered a protected class and no other religion considered protected?
Yeah, because I've said things about Christianity. Like I've said many, many times that Jesus, the God that the Christians love and worship, kills babies. And
nobody came to your house with a with a knife. Like, how dare you say that about Jesus? Yeah. But on your program, bring up a picture of Muhammad, draw Muhammad, and guess the death threats you're gonna start receiving.
Yeah, and I really do think that because it's a big minority in the United States, and that most Muslims have darker skin shades, do I dare say that the arbiters of what stays on YouTube and not the YouTube people are racist? Like they're racist in the sense that they feel sorry for Muslims, and they gotta take them in their arms. Don't worry, you'll be fine. I know you can't handle this like the Christians can.
Yeah. Well, and that is patronizing in a way. That's infantilizing the people. Like, oh, no, don't say that to them. They can't handle it. They can't, or you can't say anything about the prophet because they just can't handle the criticism. But you can say something about Christianity or Jesus was stupid. Nobody would like freak out. You say the same thing about Muhammad, and they're like, no, they can't handle the insult to the prophet. Like, Why is this double standard in the media everywhere?
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I think maybe you can help me with this. Do you think most Muslims can take it? Like if
No,
you don't, no?
some people can, like more moderate, who there's two different, like either they're moderate, they live in the West, they get too so enlightened, they're like, well, we live with everybody criticizes each other, so I'll just have to put up with it. Or some other Muslim, they don't really care that much about Islam. They're like just like culture, just like certain people. They're just Muslim by culture. They don't take Islam as a very hardcore identity of them, like defend Islam by death or whatever. So they don't really care if you say something about the. But I would say the rest of them, I would say half of I could even say they take Islam very seriously. And you say something against Muhammad, forget it. Forget about Muhammad. You can say something about against Allah, God, they'll be okay with that. I was like, all right, fine. But you say something about Muhammad, oh, it's like all bets are off.
Well, don't Muslims like Christians often say, don't mock God or don't mock Allah, Allah will not be mocked?
Yeah, but I mean, that is the irony about it. You can, majority what I've seen is you can say something against Allah, like Allah this, Allah that. They won't get that upset. They'll be like, oh, you're just saying something about God, But the minute you say something about the Prophet, and there's demonstrations all across the world and all that stuff, like Charlie Hebdo,
Yeah.
They could have said Allah this, Allah that, no, nothing would happen. But the reason the Charlie Hebdo got all crazy is because he said something about Muhammad.
Mm. It's a weird world we live in.
And still they say they don't idolize Muhammad. They're like, well, he was just a human, just like everybody else. So there are certain sects in Islam that actually give him very high level. Like they don't even consider him human. He was made out of light and all that stuff. That's like fringe groups and all that. But majority of Muslims accept that he was just a human. But they put him on such a high pedestal that it's just crazy.
Remind me, are you married?
Yes.
Is your wife deconverted?
No, my wife is a hijabi, like full scarf, prays 5 times a day, devout Muslim, like high level.
So you're just like me then.
Oh, your wife is Christian, right?
Yeah. Pretty devout. She doesn't wear a head covering. She's not that version of Christianity, but she came from that version though.
But then how do you deal with it? Like, do you have conflicts with her in everyday life? Like when you're talking to, like for her, if you say something about Jesus, like, oh, this is all BS. What's written in the Bible just doesn't make any sense. It's just like made up stuff. Does she get angry and like, how dare you said that and like go crazy? Or is it more like, yeah, whatever. If you said it, you said it.
Well, I don't say stuff like that when I'm talking to her, but like my door here is not very thick, and so she can hear the things if she wants to. She can definitely hear the things I'm saying during my live streams. I don't think she watches any of my live streams, and I won't hold back. And I think we just don't talk about it. We used to, but she doesn't ask me questions anymore. Very, very, very rarely does she ask me anything, and I don't ask her anything.
Is Christianity a big part of her life? Like,
oh yeah,
is she, like in the sense like every day, or what I mean big part of her life is like even in conversations, like God will make this happen, God bless, this will happen, if God wants this happen. Like in a Muslim family, literally every other sentence is, if God wants this to happen, God will do this, then God did this and God did that. Everything is just like revolves around religion all the time.
Yeah, she's she might be getting a little less, but yeah, she goes to Christian Bible studies and she's on the worship team at her church. And so she's very active, and she reads her Bible and prays every day. She's like, we'll go to a restaurant and order food, and she will pray before she eats it, but me and the two kids won't.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about your kids? I mean, she's Christian, let's say more religious Christian. What about your kids? How are they more towards the Christian side or more towards the atheist side or free thinking or what?
Yeah, more towards the atheist side.
Okay. Does she have a problem with that? Like, because in Islam, if a kid is towards a atheist side, they'll burn in hell. So for a mother, the biggest thing is like, I don't want my kids to burn in hell, so they cannot be Christian. They cannot be Christians, Buddhists, Hindus, or atheists. They have to be Muslim, because if they are not Muslim, they'll die. They'll burn in hell.
Yeah. But my wife believes that as well, that if it's true that I'm a non-Christian and I haven't been sanctified by merely being married to her, and that if the kids are non-Christian, she does believe we will all go to hell. But she
the lake of fire and all that stuff.
Yeah, but she trusts that God will intervene, or God will influence us at some point in our lives, that we will come back to Christianity.
Yeah. Okay. Very similar story. Because
yeah,
we had, because I've had, like, left the religion for almost 4 years now. So initially, I remember we were almost to a breaking point where the conflict was like very intense, because after being in religion such a long time, then when I left, I wanted to talk to somebody about it, so I would talk to her because she's the closest person, and all hell breaks loose. Anything against the religion. So yeah. This
is kind of, if I was to give any advice, it's going to sound horrible, but if you're someone who's come out of Islam or come out of Christianity and your spouse hasn't, the deepest, most meaningful part of their life you can't talk about. And the fact that you have learned so much and just feel like you were lied to, sorry, you can't talk about it to your spouse. You just have to take those emotions and feelings and stuff it deep in your heart.
Wow. Yeah,
it sucks, but you got to do it.
You said exactly what I was thinking, like, and that is so true. And the bad thing is, like, I'm the only one who's left the religion out of all my side of the family and her side of the family. So when I'm around everybody, I can't speak my mind at all, like, because the rest of the whole family is super religious. So their whole conversation is nothing but, this is what the Quran says. This is what God sent me to the grocery store. God blessed me that the lights were all green. God blessed me that I wanted to buy these apples, and exactly those apples I found. Thank God that when I went to this line, the line was short. And because of God's mercy, I got in my car and I didn't. Everything is just like God, 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 God. And you're sitting there, you're like, oh my God.
My wife's not like that. And the thing is, I think, if you try this worked for me, and I encourage my kids to read the Bible. I encourage my kids to even pray with my wife. And so she knows that I'm not trying to stop them or prevent them. And I think that has given her a sense of calm and security, that things are not that bad. Like, there's still hope for her. And if Christianity is true, then she's right. There is still hope. And, so I think she rests easy on that I don't say, no, don't teach the kids that. No, don't. I never say anything like that. I basically say, hey, do you want to pray with the kids? In fact, even though my daughter doesn't believe, she really loves it when my wife prays with her, because it's a community bonding type thing.
Yeah, that's very good. I mean, you are in the same boat as me, kind of. But I won't take too much of your time. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Doug, and thanks a lot.
Okay.
I'll get off so you can have somebody else on.
Okay, thanks.
Unless if you have any other question, otherwise I'll let you go.
Well, there's a guy named Daniel who wants to talk about woo with me for a little bit, so I'm going to give him 5 minutes.
Take care, Doug. Always a pleasure.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
And I'm going to be serious. 5 minutes. Hi, Daniel. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I know you so desperately want to talk to me about something, but my guess is I really don't want to talk about it, but I'll give you 5 minutes. So what would you like to complain about or say?
Yeah, well, I heard you say the thing about your wife praying with your kids, and how that's still meaningful, despite, it meaning even something different to your kids now.
Right.
So I had a couple questions for you, and you said we can come in with complaints. So I'm going to come back with my complaint is that I can't remember if you said you don't have a duty to kind of create the type of world that has a replacement for the things that the positive things that people get from religion. Is that
Right.
Was that your stance?
Yes.
You don't think you have a duty for that?
Generally, no. Yeah.
That's my complaint, is that you don't talk about that kind of stuff. And have you ever thought about interviewing anyone from like the humanist community or anyone who's trying to do that kind of thing, and why?
No, I haven't given it much thought, and I'm assuming people who watch my channel are adults and they can make their own choices on that matter.
Okay, so here's a thought: is are you trying to essentially deconvert people?
No,
is that one of the things you're trying to do?
I've said this for 5 or 10 years. No, 5 years now, at least on YouTube. My main goal is to entertain myself. So that's number one. Number two, for the people who have cognitive dissonance about the religion that they're in, I'm here to say, hey, it's okay to doubt that. And for the people who are doing really dangerous stuff, which is the minority, I admit, but the people who are doing really dangerous stuff like killing their children, either because honor killings or because they believe Jesus will heal them and so they don't have to go to the doctor, I'm trying to let them know that that they're wrong.
Okay. So I sort of had this theory that if there was some kind of high quality replacement for religious gatherings that were atheistic, that could actually help deconvert people, because it would be the same kind of way that Christians will, they might not try to like convert their friend to Christianity, but they might say, well, just come to church. I can't talk you into it, but why don't you just come to church with me on Sunday? And then they get, all the emotional hooks in them with the music and everything. And then, maybe they feel connected to a larger group of people in their city. And so they start to get that in them. And so if you could do the same thing and say, well, why don't you just come to the community center, and people would, because if you deconvert somebody, you're not giving them anywhere else to go. But you say you're concentrating on adults. You're not worried if, teenagers hear this or something and they have no alternatives.
Well, if if someone's 18 or 19 years old, most teenagers I don't think are there. Let me put it this way. The alternative is just go live your life, enjoy life, try to make wise decisions, write pros and cons on a piece of paper on major decisions. You don't have to ask questions like, where did we come from? Why do we exist? Like, they're still trying to become adults, right? They're still trying to figure out who they are as far as just a human being. And then maybe later on in life, when they are in their late 20s or something, they can start asking deeper questions if they want. Well, they can do it at any age, of course, but...
See, I sort of thought that what churches were providing were not places that concentrated on asking the big questions in life. I mean, my experience growing up in church was not on deep theological questions. It was more about
community,
the community aspect and making friends and stuff like that, especially at that age. You can always
join a bowling league, archery, take up golf,
archery,
play poker.
Okay, sure. Okay, well, so that's my complaint, is that you're will avoid that, and sure, I get this is for your entertainment, etc. So I have another question for you before I go. And
okay,
so does the word spiritual have any meaning to you, or is that like a meaningless word?
Yeah, I lean towards a meaningless word.
Lean towards. Okay.
Is that all right?
All right, that's fine. I wonder if when people say they have a spiritual experience, if because you think that word is meaningless, if that is a barrier. Have you ever looked up any of the definitions?
I have not found one definition of spirit that is not in the negation of something. Maybe you can help me with that. Can you define the word spirit by telling me? Don't tell me what it's not. Tell me what it is.
Well, from what I'm finding, it means something immaterial.
That's a not. Immaterial. Tell me what spirit is without having any negation.
Well, okay, so are there any things that are immaterial, though?
I don't know, but I'm asking for a definition of spirit. Can you give me one?
Well,
without using any negation.
If we can think of something that is immaterial, then why is that a bad definition? And so what I'm thinking of is, so let's say you're learning calculus, okay? And so like, you know, this math, and so you're learning and you're practicing, but you're just not getting it, and you're trying. And then, you know, months are going by, you're trying to learn calculus. And then all of a sudden, bam, like the lights go on and it clicks and you're like, Eureka, I got it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a material change, unless you want to say like, that seems like an immaterial thing. At one point, I didn't know calculus, and now I got it. I suddenly figured it out.
Okay.
Is that a
so?
material...
The definition of spirit is having eureka moments?
Well, the question is that immaterial when I learned calculus? Or is that a material thing?
It's a material thing.
You think it's material?
I'm like Madonna. Madonna from the 90s, remember her?
Material girl.
Yeah, with the pink dress.
In a material world.
I'm a material boy in a material world. But your 5 minutes are up. I gave you actually 7 minutes, I believe. But
all right. Well, thanks.
Okay, take care, Daniel.
Take care.
We got 2 people waiting, so let's see here. Okay, good. Oops. Ooh, that's scary. You're back.
Hello. You miss me?
You asked me, did you want to, you came and went so quickly. That's why I let you in a second time. First time you asked me the definition of extraordinary?
Yeah. I wanted to ask if we define extraordinary claim as something that would change your entire worldview, doesn't that make you biased in favor of your existing worldview?
Yes.
So, how do you drop that bias?
Through some demonstrable test. So I have a bias that if I soak a napkin in water and pray to God to light it up on fire, my bias is it's not going to happen. Now, what would change my mind about that is if it did happen.
Okay, thanks.
I like that guy. Now he's going off to think about it, and then he's going to come back in about 15 minutes with a new question. Joachim. Hey, how's my cultural Jew doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. What's up? Do you have a complaint?
Well, I do. I have a million complaints. I'm a Jew, right? But a good complaint, funny complaints. But no. Actually, I have a question that I've been thinking about. I know you love asking Christians good questions, and I don't know any Christians, so I thought I'd ask you and see if you had any thoughts about it. Like when I first read about Jesus, I thought to myself, wow, this is very sad. The story of Jesus is very sad. He dies on the cross, and he's crying in the Garden of Gethsemane, and tears are coming down like drops of blood, and it's so dramatic. But I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, Jesus really got a very good deal there, didn't he? Like he suffered for a little while, and he died for a couple of days, but then he comes right back, and then he ascends on high, and he's at the right hand of God, living forever, with everything he could ever want. And I was thinking to myself, I would take that deal, even if it wasn't.
You would die for me?
Else, I would die. Yeah. I would die for me too, right? Because I get to go to heaven and live forever, and I'd be God. And he knows this the whole time. He knows I'm just dying for like a little while, and then I'm going to be at the right hand of the Father, and I'm going to be ruling everything for all of eternity. And I was thinking, wouldn't you take that deal too? Like,
Well,
is that
crucifixion for 3 to 6 hours is still pretty bad, though.
but for eternal life, it's like, you know, if you go to the dentist and you get a tooth drilled on for a little bit and it hurts, but then, you know, you don't have to worry about your teeth rotting out, right? You get this wonderful benefit. Is that really like a sacrifice?
Well,
like,
there's
do you think of that as a sacrifice?
Joachim, there's Christians listening right now, and you dared to compare a crucifixion with getting your teeth filled at the dentist?
Eternal life. Eternal life is the reward. Like, what would be better than, you know, you're sitting there in heaven next to God, getting spoon-fed chocolate ice cream by angels, you know, like Muslims get what, 72
Or steak if you're
imagine
Jesus is a
worries.
Jesus is a carnivore, by the way, so he would eat steak. He'd be spoon-fed steak.
All right, well, maybe steak flavored steak ice cream. It's heaven. You can do it. Anything goes, right? So
So you're
I
saying,
was just thinking, like,
yeah, you're saying that the sacrifice wasn't that big of a deal.
I'm saying it wasn't a sacrifice, and it was worth it. It was more than worth it. I would do it in an instant. And I think that, like, any Christian who's being like honest would say, hey, I would take that deal too. I would die for, 3 days if I knew that I would come back and then live forever and get fed.
I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to like find weak points in the story, but here's a better one, I think.
Okay.
I think what you need to say to Christians is that Jesus' death on the cross and resurrection atones for the sins of the world, or the sins of the elect, if you're a Calvinist. But if you really think about it, Jesus didn't die. His body died, but his soul lived on. And some Christians believe that he went to paradise, and some say he went to Hades, and some say he went to both. During those 30 hours or 36 hours, he was dead, in quotes. But really, this is the most amazing thing about the death and resurrection of Jesus. And that is, the atonement for sins was accomplished through the death and resurrection of a piece of meat.
True.
And it's because the soul didn't die, just the meat did.
Right.
And so this is why I'm a carnivore today, is because I want to be more like Jesus. It's all about meat.
Oh, okay. Here, real quick. Here's another thing that I've been thinking about, and I want to get your take on it, and then I'll leave you alone. But I've been thinking about, like, it seems like, in Judaism, believing is not like the central thing, like it is in Christianity.
Right.
But in Christianity, everything hinges on you believing the story. And I've been thinking, like, why would God possibly want that? Like, why is faith such an important thing in Christianity? And it really doesn't make sense. And I can't find anywhere in the Bible where it really gives us a plain explanation about that. I mean, like, it's sort of more just says, hey, just
it solved the problem.
Believe it like a child. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a plot hole in Christianity, but it does solve a problem. And the problem was that Christians of the day said, or not Christians, Jews of that time who became Christians said to themselves, well, look around me. It's like the Romans, they have their thumbs down on us. We serve the only one and true God, and yet we're suffering. And so this whole idea of just believing serves the purpose of, if it's a matter of blessings and curses, obeying, they're doing the right things, but they're still in a bad situation. So it's obvious that there's more to it than just actions. And so this is where I think the belief of Christianity came in as most important.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a very practical, real explanation. But I mean, like, I can't think of one from the Christian perspective. Like, I can't think of a good explanation for why everything hinges on faith. The only thing that makes sense is that God likes gullible people and wants to reward them, because that's what ends up happening. you'll have a higher percentage of gullible people that are rewarded, and people who are very skeptical and who don't like just believe any story. They're the ones who end up sort of getting the bad end of the deal. Like
but to be fair, Joachim, though, is a lot of Christians are synergists, which means that it's not just merely belief. It's also running the good race, crossing the finish line, not doing certain things, doing certain things, like being baptized in communion. And so, the Roman Catholics are more.
This synergy thing never really made a ton of sense to me, because at the same time that they say it's kind of a cooperation between you and God, they're also sort of saying, oh, we need to give all credit to God. Like your ability to do the things that you do and think the things that you think is all because of God at the end of the day anyway. So, I mean, why, I don't know. That whole debate doesn't make it doesn't make a ton of sense to me. But yeah, so that's it. It seems like the gullible are necessarily rewarded, and it seems like that what would make more sense is if, yeah, of course, what would make more sense is if it's just a made up story and somebody is benefiting from certain people believing. Like somebody wants to sell something, and so they're selling it to the people who will believe it, and it's just a technique for getting people to buy into your make believe. And it's good at that. It's very good at getting people to buy into make believe. But it doesn't make sense in any other way to me.
Yeah, well, and if you heard one of my first callers, he was a Muslim gentleman, and he said, well, I'm a Muslim because it makes sense to me. And you and I are not Christians because it doesn't make sense to us. Well, that's one of the reasons,
I don't really believe that stuff makes sense to them. Like, I think that they have a lot of cognitive dissonance that they just shove down, and they're sort of programmed to say that it makes sense. But I think if they really took a notepad, and every time they had a doubt, they wrote down their doubt, and they had a notepad of doubt. I think if they look at it in a year, they're gonna find that those doubts just keep growing, and that the notebook just gets fatter, and it doesn't get smaller.
That's actually a good idea. So Joachim and I challenge all Christians for we just started 2021. For calendar 2021, every time you have a doubt, write it down in a notebook. And then at the end of 2021, take a look at all your doubts.
Yeah. See if the doubts went away or if they multiplied. Because I think if you're an inquisitive, intelligent person, and you really look into those different doubts, you're going to find that one doubt turns into two doubts, and those two doubts turn into four doubts, and those four turn into 8, and it just keeps going like that. Yeah. And that's how it is. Okay, I don't want to waste any more of your time.
It's not wasted. Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for coming on again.
It's always fun to talk to you. Take care.
Bye. Oh, there's me and Joachim. Christians, please call in with your complaints, concerns. If you want to come on and pray for me to light up a water-soaked napkin, maybe have Pinecreek Doubt Day once a month. Hey, yeah, we can start right now. If a Christian wants to come in who's maybe not quite an atheist or not quite out of Christianity, but is doubting, let me know your doubts. Let's see here.
Hello.
Hi, you're back again.
Hello.
You're having fun, aren't you?
Yep.
Okay, this is the last time. What's your name again?
Okay. Um,
What's your name again?
Zulu. Whatever.
Thulu?
Doesn't matter.
How do you spell?
No.
You're such a great guy. I want to know how to spell your name and pronounce it correctly. Can I do that?
It's not my name. I'm not gonna tell you my name.
Well, make up a name that
Zulu.
Okay, but can you make up a better name? Because I tell you that one.
Okay.
How do you spell that? Thulu?
Okay. I have an easier name. Banana. Call me Banana. Okay.
How about Myron?
Nah.
Myron?
Mediocre. That's a mediocre name.
Yeah, you're right. I hate that name, Myron. It gives me bad memories. Okay, I'll call you Banana. What's up, Banana?
Yeah. So a while back, I called you. I asked you, if you saw the flying man, would you believe it? And back then, you told me you would ask a trusted friend if he sees the same thing, right? You would try to make sure that you're not insane, right? Something along those lines.
Yeah, it sounds vaguely familiar. Yeah.
Yep. So if right now the wet napkin burns in your hand, would you believe it?
Well, I would have 100. No, how many people are here? 250 witnesses via live stream, but still they would be here. And I have people in my house. So if you prayed in the name of Jesus right now, or Allah, or whoever, and it worked, I'd yell at my kids, "Hey, get in here now! Look at this. Is this birding or is this my imagination?"
So, and then you would believe it.
Yeah. And then I would go, "Ouch. Yeah, I'm awake."
Okay. Bye.
Is he going out to phone a friend each time? I bet you he's each time he hangs up on me, he's calling this guy Greg Kokel. Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's getting fed stuff from Greg Kokel, or maybe Alyssa Childers. Okay, I'm not going to play anything. I'll just wait a few more minutes for one more caller. Who wants to be the last caller? I like Banana. Maybe he has an apologist on speed dial. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Did Chris Yoon's prophecy come true today? Well, yes, C. Morrison, it did. Trump was sworn as president on Air Force One today. He swore in a Bible that he had from his mother today, and it was signed in with a notary public today. So for the first time in history, I think we have two presidents of the United States. So all those prophecies that all these Christians, mostly Christians, were talking about came true. So yeah, Biden's still president. But we got two presidents now. Oh, thank you for the donation, Ronald Mendonca. Have you heard from the false prophet Chris Yoon today? No. He himself, but some of his subscribers have commented on my YouTube video. How do you pronounce your name? Is it Adamir? Mrs. Adamir? Yeah, if you're holding a baby, don't feel the need to come on. Although, this could be the start of something great for your baby if, they make their live stream debut on the Pinecreek channel. Thanks, Leland. Stronks, you're so funny. Keep them on the run. Peace. No. What symbol is that? Woman run? Is it Winger Wednesday? Oh, yeah. I couldn't find anything interesting on Winger today. And I keep looking at James White's stuff. Nothing interesting there. He's just paranoid that his YouTube channel will be pulled because of Biden. Like, I do have some. Turek was sort of interesting. Do you guys want me to wait for someone to come on or play Turek? Or I could play. I don't know. I'd rather play Turek than Coco. Turek makes me laugh more. Sure, let's do that. Scariest verse in the Bible. What is that?
Separates us.
What's the scariest verse in the Bible? What's your I honestly don't know. Scariest verse in the Bible. It has to be about hell, right? Let's see.
More information about God than the Apostle Paul. To whom much is given, much will be required. That's only fair, right?
Hi, my name.
Played Turek, Dinosaur. I think I played that last week. Dinosaur Hunter? Yeah, put the link in, Reed. I think I played. Is it one that says, why doesn't God talk about the dinosaurs?
My name's Maddie.
Hey, Maddie.
Tonight was the first night I had heard the term age of accountability.
Uh-huh.
So I hopped onto the wise and all-knowing Google.
Okay.
And they said, I just want to make sure it's right.
Uh-huh.
It's that individuals before a certain age are given mercy on the things that they had done. And is there any scripture that relates back to this idea? And is there an age?
Yeah, well, not just age. If you're severely mentally handicapped, I think that's a free pass into heaven.
Estimate, like, of when that ends?
It's Isaiah chapter 8, I believe, talking about before the boy knows his right from his left, the right and wrong. But it's a boy. We don't know the age. And I think it's probably going to be different for every person, right? Some people mature faster than others. Like, for girls, the age of accountability is 3. For boys, it's 37. Okay.
The second part to my question is if we don't know the age of accountability, is someone that maybe commits suicide or has an abortion before that age given mercy, but someone after punished or needs to repent more than the person before that?
She mentioned abortion. I wonder if she's going to the fact that aborted babies go to heaven?
All sin separates us from God, but not all sin is the same. There's greater commands, there's greater sin, there's lesser punishment and greater punishment. We have to get this idea out of our minds that all sin is the same. It's not. Obviously, if you murder somebody, just from our own common sense, you know.
But is it the same in the eyes of God? Is a little white lie the same as murder in the eyes of God, not in the eyes of men?
You're not going to. You're going to go to jail for life, maybe. You're not going to go to jail for life if you jaywalk, unless you're in California and you're a Christian.
Californians do hate Christians.
Sorry. But where were we?
Jaywalking.
So, okay, well, when you say mercy, do you mean God's mercy, or do you mean the people, like the U.S. judicial system mercy? What do you mean?
God's mercy, like being able, like,
of course she meant
seeing
God's
that as a
mercy.
sin, and like the division between like going to hell.
Yes.
Or heaven.
Well, God knows. In fact, if you look at Luke chapter 12, Jesus is talking about, he's telling a parable to tell people what it's going to be like when he comes back. And he says, the people who had greater knowledge and did evil will be beaten with many blows. The people who had lesser knowledge and did evil will be beaten with fewer blows. And he says, to whom much is given, much will be required. That's one of the scariest verses in the entire Bible.
Oh, didn't see that coming. With great power comes great responsibility.
Because in America, we've been given so much. Especially right now, you can plumb the depths of all sorts of different Bible versions, Bible translations, Bible commentaries, books, commentary, all sorts of things to know who God is.
I think the age of accountability, Catherine, is when you get your first kiss. So you're innocent, and if you don't kiss someone on the lips who's not your family member, you know, a romantic kiss, as soon as you have your first romantic kiss, God holds you accountable.
Unlike any other time in history, to whom much is given, much will be required. In fact, think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Do you know that we have more access to God's revelation than the Apostle Paul had?
Google?
Paul probably died before he saw some of the New Testament. He probably didn't see the book of Revelation. He probably didn't see the book of Hebrews unless he wrote it.
He definitely didn't see the Gospel of John.
He probably didn't see certain books in the New Testament written later.
He probably didn't even know that his letters would become scripture.
Have more information about God than the Apostle Paul. To whom much is given, much will be required. That's only fair, right?
It's only fair. It's only fair you burn for eternity for simply not believing the core propositions of Christianity. Let's see here. Are miracles and tongues current today? Oh, this is what Frank's going to say about that
them
one.
to go out. Of miracles and the fact of miracles.
How do we know we've received the gifts of the Holy Spirit?
Okay, well, one thing we have to look at, when you're looking at the book of Acts, most of the book of Acts is a description of what happened. It's not all a prescription for us. So when Jesus is talking...
Now, this is code for, hey, Christians, keep your expectations of God low. Don't expect you to raise people from the dead, even though it says that you should do greater things than I have done.
To the apostles in the book of Acts chapter 1, he is saying you need to go out and you need to be my witnesses to Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. So he is equipping them to go out. Now, Christians will differ over this. Some will say, well, he's also equipping us with these same gifts. Other Christians will say, no, those gifts passed away with the apostles. Okay? You can argue over that all day. It does appear to me that on some instance, in some situations, these gifts still do apply. If you go to Craig Keener's book that I mentioned earlier, the hernia-inducing 2-volume set on miracles, he has some documented situations where people were able to speak in tongues, not a private prayer language tongue, but actually another known...
Do you believe that, Frank? Do you? Do you really believe that happened?
Language that the other person needed to hear in order to have the gospel, right? So, but it did appear that in New Testament times, Paul and the other apostles had the ability to heal people. Now it seems, well, actually a little bit later in their ministry, they appeared not to have the ability to heal.
Why do you say the word appeared? Why aren't you saying they did heal early on in the book of Acts? Why do you say appeared?
Paul couldn't heal his own.
Don't you really believe this stuff, Frank?
Own thorn in the flesh. He told Timothy, take a little wine with your stomach or for your stomach. Well, why not just heal him, Paul? You know, or pray for so-and-so, he's sick. Paul, if you can heal him, why don't you just heal him? The reason it seems that Paul and the apostles had the gift of miracles for a while, or gift of healing, was because they were the ones who were writing the New Testament, and people needed to know they were truly speaking for God, and through those miracles, they were validated, okay?
Yeah, I don't know if I buy that. If we went into a time machine and found the Apostle Paul and said, hey, by the way, 2,000 years later, your letters are going to be in what's called the Bible, which is a canon, a collection of books. And I have a feeling he'd go, what? My letters? Really? Wow. Great. Thanks. Royalties?
It doesn't appear to me that there are people today who have the same gift at any time on command to heal people. If that were the case, they'd be going to hospitals and emptying them, right? Okay. Now, again, I'm not saying this might not happen on occasion in certain areas of the world when necessary, but it does appear to me that there's a difference between the gift of miracles and the fact of miracles. Okay. People might not have the gift today, but God can do a miracle at any time, whenever he wants, for any reason.
For any reason, even if it's for being tested. A guy like Pinecreek saying, light this up.
And that does happen today.
And it does happen today. There you go. If it doesn't, I'm stuck. If it does, there's hope.
Okay, so how do we know we have the witness of the Holy Spirit? Or how do we know we have the gifts of the Holy Spirit? Well, it depends on what gifts you're talking about. What gifts do you mean?
I was talking
all
more
the
in the
gifts.
sense of like speaking in tongues, also that healing you're talking about.
Okay.
So
That is something that Christians are going to differ over, and I don't take a firm position either way. But let me give you a resource that can help you navigate this kind of thing. There's an app and a website. You've probably seen it. They're pretty prolific. It's called Got Questions, Spirit, and you get a whole number of articles and then draw a conclusion. So I would start there.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a hunch that Frank Turek doesn't really believe God acts that way anymore. I don't think Frank Turek really believes Craig Keener's book, that most of those miracles probably are not miracles. I could be wrong. I think Frank Turek has low expectations of his God, that at one time in history he did all these miracles because he's got to create the canon, but now not so much. Isn't that convenient? That all the people in the first century got to witness these amazing things from God. But now, later in life, in the year 2021, we just got to take their word for it. The God app. Got questions? Have high expectations of your God. If you're going to believe in a God that does stuff, if you're going to believe in a God that can do things. Not one that just sits on high and looks down at the world. Hey Frank, I'll stop the music if you come in. I know you're listening. Great, now I have to think again. Damn! I wish you streamed longer. Oh, I got a text. Maybe it's Frank Turek. No, it's from God. It says, great show. Very, very entertaining. Love Yahweh. So if you're a very far right-leaning Christian watching, don't worry, you'll be fine. So what if we have Satan as president? You'll be okay. Yes, Biden is working for Satan, but that's all right. I work for Satan. He's a good guy. Poof. My apologies to Greg Kokel and Frank Turek. They were scheduled to come on, but we ran out of time.